I'm the president and you're fake news. And you know what I'll say to you? I'll say very nicely, I know you well. I know you well because I know the guy. I see what he writes. He's a total faker. So are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? It's just a suggestion from a brilliant lab by a very, very smart, perhaps brilliant man. He's talking about sun. He's talking about heat. And you see the numbers. So that's it. That's all I have. I'm just here to present talent. I'm here to present ideas because we want ideas to get rid of this thing. And if heat is good and if sunlight is good, that's a great thing as far as I'm concerned. Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another 4-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation, and this will be our last chance to save it. This election will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and pretty much the whole world knows it. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. Honestly, she should be locked up. The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be clear on one thing. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist, a xenophobe. They will lie, and then again, they will do worse than that. They will do whatever is necessary. The Clintons are criminals, remember that. This is well documented, and the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. They knew they would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. Our great civilization has come upon a moment of reckoning. I didn't need to do this, folks, believe me. I built a great company, and I had a wonderful life. I could have enjoyed the fruits and benefit of years of successful business deals and businesses for myself and my family, instead of going through this absolute horror show of lies, deceptions, malicious attacks. Who would have thought? I'm doing it because this country has given me so much, and I feel so strongly that it's my turn to give back to the country that I love. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again. Military that was totally, it was in terrible, terrible shape. It was depleted. It was a depleted military. Old planes, old tanks, old everything. And we have a beautiful, brand new military with the best people in the world. We never had anything like it. Some of the equipment is still coming in. No, we've done a real job, and I think we're going to be extremely successful. I was surprised that he picked her, very surprised, because of the horrible way she talked about him, and frankly, because she dropped like a rock. I didn't. When I ran against 17 people, mostly governors and senators, some others. Ben Carson was very strong, very good. A couple of others, but mostly governors, mostly senators. And I ran, and I went up. She ran, and she went down to rock bottom. I don't think she ever got to run her first, to take a vote in the first state. So generally speaking, you don't want to pick somebody that went down. She went down, but she went down in a very terrible way, and she said horrible things about Biden. She said far worse about Biden than I ever did, and now she's running as vice president. So how does that work?
It is struck. Remember, he and his lover, Lisa Page. What a group. She's going to win 10 million to 1. She's going to win. I'm telling you, Peter. I'm telling you, Peter, she's going to win. Peter, oh, I love you so much. I love you, Peter. I love you too, Lisa. Lisa, I love you. Lisa. Lisa. Oh, God, I love you, Lisa. And if she doesn't win, Lisa, we've got an insurance policy, Lisa. We'll get that son of a bitch out. We got an insurance policy. And we're living through the insurance policy. That's what it is. The phony Russia hoax. Lisa, I love you. Now, the do-nothing Democrat con artists and scammers are getting desperate. 13 months, they got to move fast because they're not beating us at the polls, and they know it, despite the phony polls that you see all the time. They're phony polls. You know, polls are no different. Remember, I always used to talk about polls? I know polls very well. Polls are no different than crooked writers. They're crooked polls.
The dissidents here today have witnessed communism destroy a nation, just as communism has destroyed every single nation where it has ever been tried. To this day, Cuba is ruled by the same people who killed tens of thousands of their own citizens, who sought to spread their repressive and failed ideology throughout our hemisphere. We do not want U.S. dollars to prop up a military monopoly that exploits and abuses the citizens of Cuba. It has supported human trafficking, forced labor, and exploitation all around the globe. And we will never, ever be blind to it. We know what's going on, and we remember what happened. But now, those days are over. Now we hold the cards. And now that I am your president, America will expose the crimes of the Castro regime and stand with the Cuban people in their struggle for freedom. We will very strongly restrict American dollars flowing to the military, security, and intelligence services that are the core of the Castro regime. Therefore, effective immediately, I am canceling the last administration's completely one-sided deal with Cuba. We will not lift sanctions on the Cuban regime until all political prisoners are freed. Freedoms of assembly and expression are respected, and free and internationally supervised elections are scheduled. And we will work for the day when a new generation of leaders brings this long reign of suffering to an end. We're being tough because of drugs and also human trafficking. And remember, the human trafficking is mostly females. It's mostly females. It's horrible, and what we're seeing is horrible. But you have we have a human trafficking problem worldwide, the likes of which, you think of it as an ancient thing. It's not ancient. It's bigger now than it's ever been before over the last 10 years because of the internet. The internet made human trafficking to the extent that it is now, which is massive. They used to drive right through the border like they owned it, and in a certain way they did. They could drive right. They had human trafficking. All of a sudden they have a powerful wall up, over 160 miles of wall, and they're not driving through that wall. That wall is tough, and it's also loaded up with equipment, cameras and sensors and everything you can think of. On top of that, we have drones flying back and forth over. We have a big naval force that's stopping. So maybe when you mention that, maybe their ships are getting caught. But we are stopping a lot of ships, and we're finding a lot of drugs. Now, Sleepy Joe would say the unemployment rate in the great state of Ohio. No, you're in South Carolina. Joe, you're in South. They come up, and you ever see the guy that no, it's South Carolina. It's not Ohio. Okay. Then he goes, all right, Iowa? Did you say Iowa? No. I did that like 7 times. If I did that once, it would be the end of the road, right? Be the end of the road. They'd say, Trump has lost it. They like to say that anyway, I guess. Huh? These people are bad people. No, Sleepy Joe. Well, he's running tomorrow. No, but could you imagine if I said just a small fraction of the mistakes he makes, which are unbelievable, every speech? I actually said the other night, I was watching him when he said about half the population wiped out with guns. I said, that's a horrible thing. That's the end of his evening. That's the end of his political career. And then after the debate, they're reviewing him. They said, Joe Biden had a great night last night. He didn't write that. That was done by a Democrat operative. He doesn't write. He's probably not even watching right now. And if he is, he doesn't understand what he's watching. But just so you understand, it was very nice what they wrote out. I don't know, they released it at a strange time, sort of a strange time to release something like that. But he admitted I was right. And if you read the Federalist story, which most of you won't, because you don't want to, but you'd learn something, because if you go, it goes through a chart, times. I was early. Dr. Fauci, I don't think he's changed his mind, but he said it was a very important step when we stopped China from coming in from the specific area that was heavily infected. We'd have a whole different thing right now. So I don't really know what Joe Biden said. I don't really care. And again, I see every once in a while I'll say something, I'll make a speech, and then it'll be critiqued, and I'll get this beautiful, brilliant critique. Joe Biden didn't write that. Joe Biden didn't write that. He wished he did, but he didn't. I've done hundreds and hundreds of deals. And I've beaten a lot of people. I mean, I'm not saying it bragging. I beat a lot of people. And those guys are not nice guys, and I have lots of enemies and lots of different things. And I've always heard where people like me cannot win because there's too many enemies. But whether it's me or somebody else, you need a person like me to run this country for a while because we have to get this country back so that we're respected again.
Who's the number one bad guy right now you would fire in America?
Well, can I be honest? I don't want to say. There's so many of them. There really are. There are so many of them. And obviously, I'm not going to mention names, nor am I going to mention names of the congressmen, all of whom I know. Okay?